All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fourth installment of Behind the Counter. I'm your host, Rich Stambolian, and seated to my left, as always, is Jonathan Adler. All right, reggae. We need a reggae horn in here.
We do.
All right, what do you want to start with today, man? We're gonna go right into the 52 or what, man? Call it out.
Well, I think for a majority, we're going to be talking about the restart of DC.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Kevin Nash.
No,
I'm not talking about Kevin Nash.
It's a comic book show, man.
Let's do this. How about we talk about your picks of the week?
Yeah.
Then because we haven't talked about DC enough, and it deserves it this week, for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. We'll go backwards today a little bit. You know, we're gonna start out with some comics today, and also if you're watching right now, be prepared. You know, like I know a lot of comic book fans out there. I hope everybody's okay on the East Coast after Hurricane Irene.
Because we're okay.
We're here. You know, which is cool. We didn't have power outage or anything like that, but a lot of people did. I want to go right into it, man. My first pick of the week is Mighty Thor number 5. Sorry, I didn't type that to you before to cue it up. I
figured out it was books of the week.
Technology is failing.
Technology is not at my fingertips right now. Mighty Thor, it's continuing kind of like a sideways story. It touches on Fear itself a little bit, but it doesn't. It's kind of like a cool like Asgardian on Earth thing, and they also fight a oncoming Galactus. You know, it's this whole big story about how Galactus wants like this crazy Starheart or whatever it's called to.
This is not Green Lantern. Don't say Starheart.
Oh yeah, whatever that thing's called.
Something that Galactus wants.
The Starheart. And Silver Surfer's trying to get it for him because it would satiate his eternal hunger. So in this issue, you have. Last issue was a crazy awesome fight between Silver Surfer and Thor, which ended up on Mars, you know, and they're kind of going at each other, and Thor is just full of Asgardian rage, and this one kind of picks up where it left off, where they're still kind of fighting, and Silver Surfer's like, stop being an a-hole, give me the thing that Galactus wants, I don't want him to eat planets anymore. You know?
No one ever understands that. It's just like, it's so one goal. Mm-hmm. Like, he wants to eat your planet, and there's probably some type of greater thing that he's going to need out of it.
Yeah.
Cooperate.
I mean, you know, and plus he's fighting Odin, the All-Father.
Which is really cool.
It is really cool. At one point, Odin gets as big as Galactus and headbutts him,
and pretty awesome.
Destroys Galactus's helmet.
Odin gets wrecked too. His armor gets all his awesome looking Odin armor,
the Odin space armor.
And he smashes up Galactus's face, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
the art is awesome. I mean, it's Copiel. Yeah. Oliver Copiel he always rocks in these cases. It's got a bunch of my favorite things in it. It's got Oliver Copiel. It's got the new young Loki.
Yes.
And, of course, it's got my absolute favorite thing in all Thor stuff, the Destroyer armor.
Yes.
Which is so awesome.
Give us a little backstory on the Destroyer armor for those who don't really know much about the Thor, continuity, the mythos of Thor. So
Odin made this really kick-ass armor that Kirby directed. He directed in a film once, amateur stag film, and it looks awesome. And like basically, what you do is your spirit enters it, and it's pretty much a weapon of mass destruction for Odin. A ton of people have been inside of it. Thor has been inside of it. You're going to see it as a big part of Fear itself as we go forward, especially regarding Iron Man. It's like the ultimate armor. It's like if Odin created a really badass spiked Iron Maiden costume. It's so cool looking. If you want to like kind of turn to it right now, it's just like this awesome spiked rocking costume. It was in the movie too. If you saw the Thor movie, it's you see how much of a like this thing shows up, like head's going to be handed to them.
Yeah, it's always been like a huge destructive force, and it's such a great tool for writers because you know it's an awesome build, especially in this story where it also has to do with the Fear itself stuff that Loki pulls some strings in the underworld and throughout the 9 realms in order to get the armor. You know, so this issue shows him actually approaching the armor. It shows I think in the last Journey into Mystery, it shows him on top of the armor.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that's going on with this is the people of Broxton, Oklahoma, Asgard got destroyed over Broxton, Oklahoma.
Right.
And all these, like the people who live there want the Asgardians out, you know, and now then there's this.
Who wants Asgardian gods floating over your like small shitkicker town?
There's nothing in the town.
Yeah, there's nothing, and it's weird. Like I think it's a real weird thing, and they've played a lot with it. Where like like oh look, a barbarian is in like the Dairy Queen.
Yeah, and that was a cool thing they did a few issues ago where Volstagg wanted to go work at the diner.
Yeah, he's like, I love food, and like I'm a great cook. Why wouldn't I want to work at the diner?
And they kick him out of the diner, and then he goes back to Asgard saying, we're going to fight the people of Broxton. Who's with me? And then they go after Volstagg in this one, and it's a priest kind of heading the charge, and the priest is like, you're Asgardians. That's cool. I believe in something different than you guys. That's cool, too. So they show up at Asgard's door, and Volstagg's ready to fight them, and then Galactus appears at the end, and the culmination of the issue is with the priest turning around to Galactus saying, I've always wanted to talk to a god. Because Galactus is essentially like...
And it's the wrong god.
A god, yeah.
it's the other god.
Whoopsie. So, Mighty Thor #5, it was in stores this week. Pick it up, man. Pick up the full run is still available. I think they went into second printing on the first two, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Real excellent book.
The store stuff, the Thor stuff has been really, really cool. It's we have the movie out. We have Thor being a big part of Fear itself. He's, one of the big three in the Avengers. Between this and the Journey into Mystery book and whatever happens in the result of Fear itself, a lot of cool stuff is happening. Like what Matt Fraction, who writes some of the Mighty Thor and writes Fear itself, you can see he's building towards some really great stuff, similar to what he did with Iron Man the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, and we've talked like at length about the last.
His run is amazing.
Iron Man stuff, which is awesome. Next book that I want to talk about after I chew this ice in my microphone.
Really professional.
Ice chewer.
It's hot in here. For those of you that don't know, if you think this room is air conditioned, it's not. It's about 10,000 degrees in here.
Is that why I'm sweating?
87.
So. It's 87.
87 degrees.
87,000 degrees.
It's gorgeous outside.
Yeah, it's beautiful out. So next book, Secret Avengers #16 from Warren Ellis and Jamie McAvee. Very excellent comic right here. If we can get like a really quick shot of that.
This is the start of Warren Ellis's run on the Secret Avengers book,
right.
Which makes me very, very happy.
Yeah.
Because especially it also makes OFB, our friend Bobby, very happy because I recently gave him the entire run of Ed Brubaker's run on Secret Avengers. And it's a really great espionage book that builds on this really cool mythos. We talked about Marvel's projects before with the character John Steele, who's like the original super soldier. Right. There's a lot of build up. You have a great team of Captain America. It's just like his Black Ops teams for the most part. You've got Captain America is Commander America role,
wearing the like the shieldy kind
of
armor,
shield, right? Yeah, like the more like official, like I'm here to do business type of stuff outfit. You've got Black Widow, you've got Moon Knight, which is a great addition. You got Beast doing the scientist role. You got War Machine. You got my favorite, the irredeemable Ant-Man, who's such a scumbag and such a cool character. Did I say Valkyrie?
No.
Valkyrie is, and there's gonna be big things coming out of Valkyrie in the next coming years.
This is a phenomenal issue if you're a fan of Warren Ellis and you're waiting for him to come back to like mainstream comics. This is an excellent issue to pick up. The thing I always love about Warren Ellis is like he does a lot of really cool science stuff. A lot of cool science dialogue, and you have one of the preeminent scientists in the Marvel universe in this issue, which is the Beast. He's on the team, and he's pretty much chewing everybody's ear off about time travel in this issue and why how Dr. Doom's time travel platforms work, because, as a fan, maybe you want the science behind it. So they go into the Secret City, which ties into Secret Warriors and Shang-Chi's dad and all that cool stuff. And they find like this old, like super science Cadillac, and the Black Widow's driving it. And, Beast is chewing everybody's ear off. So he builds special weapons for everybody that they can use. It's a really awesome kind of lighthearted, tongue-in-cheek book that really reminded me of Next Wave.
Oh, very much so. Especially because they didn't use the entire cast in this. Really, really cool grouping of Moon Knight, Steve Rogers. Was it Valkyrie as well? The team.
In this issue,
Black Widow, I think.
Yeah, It was Black Widow, Steve Rogers, Beast, and Moon Knight.
Yeah, where they just kind of like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing with this.
Yeah, really excellent book. It's a good jumping on point if you want to check out some of the cool Secret Avengers stuff. And it's not super superhero-y. You have that awesome spy element to it, and they're uncovering like this really cool story. And like I said before, they're doing the tie-in with the Dr. Doom's time travel platform, which is located in this giant underground city. So in this issue, you see that the time platform isn't like a 10 by 10 space. It's actually built into the city. So you have these 4 pylons that are like the size of the Empire State Building, and they have to destroy them so that the city doesn't get teleported, etc. Really cool, like science fiction-y, heady stuff.
Warren Ellis.
I'm glad he's back, man. I'm glad he's back doing mainstream stuff.
Me too. I like this little shield gun that Steve Rogers shoots off, where he shoots like little tiny triangle shields that have a little gun. It's pretty cool. I love his stuff. The art's beautiful too. The art is absolutely gorgeous in this.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. He like it almost kind of like it's almost like Luna Brothers esque.
Yeah. It's very, very clean art. It's very, very clean art. It's definitely a done in one issue. It's building up, finally picking up like some of the strings that. Oh my God, the name escapes me. Ed Brubaker, one of our favorites, of the Secret Empire, which is this organization that's run behind, similar to Hydra, that they've been building up on. So it's good that the storylines that Ed Brubaker was really building up on hasn't dropped to the wave side.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like he is one of the Marvel architects. So and I love the fact that they're really establishing such a great continuity with all these books, even though the books are a little off kilter. Like this, I consider this kind of like an off kilter book.
Absolutely.
If you're an Avengers fan, you have like the sideways, you have the new Avengers, the regular Avengers. There's tons of Avengers stuff out there right now, and it's all solid.
And this is very unique in the whole Avengers scheme of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Next, I think my next pick for the week is Amazing Spider-Man number 668, which continues part 2 of the Spider Island saga.
I'm such a fan of this storyline.
It's really awesome, man. Like I know, like a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how we were kind of hoping that it was going to build up to something cool, and it's on the road to being something so fantastic.
Well, that's what I've been seeing with a lot of the Spidey stuff, especially with the way they bill with the upcoming storylines. They don't tell you a great deal. Like, I mean, the basic concept of this is that everyone is infected with this virus, which is giving them Spider-Man powers. So it's very bare bones on what they let you know. So as you get into it, you see like, oh, the bad guy is Jackal. We're dealing with Ben Reilly possibly returning through as like the ultimate Spider clone.
Right.
You've got the return of Kane, and they're doing really cool stuff. And we're not talking about Undertaker Kane. We're talking about the first, clone that was a failed experiment. I'm sorry, Andrew, we're not doing it today.
There's your second wrestling reference today.
It's really cool. You have a big, great moment in this because we have Jackal basically gave a ton of crooks Spider-Man costumes. Since they have Spider-Man powers now, just run rampant. So you have the Avengers fighting and they're beating the crap out of the real Spider-Man by accident. And he kind of rallies the troops and gets on camera, and he's regular Peter Parker running around without the costume.
The one of the bits I really enjoyed about this issue is his girlfriend now, Carly Cooper, who's a forensic scientist for the NYPD.
Yeah.
She's got spider powers and she's fully embracing her spider powers. So she's going out there and actually fighting crime. And she has I think they all have the organic webs, right?
Yeah.
So she's going out there and fighting crime, and then they land in front of like a warehouse, and she says like, "Hey, your moves were good back there. I can give you a couple of pointers," and she's bitch, I'm Spider-Man. I wish he threw that in there.
Like, you have to understand something. I am Spider-Man.
Yeah. Or at least a little word balloon. I know Marvel hasn't done the not the word balloons, the thought balloons. No, Marvel hasn't really done thought balloons in the past, to relax. 25 years.
You need to relax with those statements, lady.
Yeah.
It's also cool that there's there's the mystery of the because he now works for Horizon Labs, which is his big job. Peter Parker. His day job. Which is really cool because he gets to work with all these science folks, and there's one guy who's like Scientist 6 who's working with them, who is a quote unquote expert on all this stuff. Yep. That's secretly Miles Warren.
Right.
Or at least I'm believing it's Miles Warren.
Well, I mean, I don't think it might.
The Jackal.
I don't think it might be Miles Warren because of the interaction that he had with Reed in this issue, where he's like,
"Yeah, it's diplomatic.
I know him very well. Don't worry about it."
Who else knows? I'm
saying they're gonna do a throwback because it harkens to like the Straczynski stuff. Ezekiel.
I hope not. I'm tired of Ezekiel. Like what's cool about this, what I really like about this is they're really trying to incorporate all of the stuff they've used for Spider-Man over the last few years. One of my least favorite things was the Ezekiel stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when they gave him back the organic web shooters, which I'm not a fan of at all. And
the claw, the death claw,
the death claw, the death strike or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a spike, like a Wolverine spike, that comes out of Spider-Man's wrist, but he refuses to use it because he doesn't want to kill anybody. There's no reason to do it. So a lot of these, maniacs that are now have Spider-Man powers in the city are definitely going to probably use that weirdo claw.
If they have the weirdo claw.
Yeah.
And plus they have they
did mention it in, I think, in one of these tie-ins, like Spider-Man, like Deadly Foes, or one of them recently that said you don't use it. Like Madam Web said it to him.
Just like a bunch of guys running around with these crazy claws.
And you also have some mystery of this someone communicating with the Jackal,
right?
Some mysterious female, which automatically I assume like this has to be like the Gwen Stacy clone,
right?
That died years ago, but. In the Spider-Man one-shot Deadly Foes, they actually showed the Gwen Stacy clone, and she's still alive, and they kill her, and it's not this one, so it's another mystery character.
The thing I love about this story arc is that there's so much that Slott could play with because of how Spidey continuity's been for the past few years. Probably since like the mid '90s, when you had the Clone Saga and like all this crazy stuff happened to Spider-Man, and then the One More Day stuff, and then the what was the where he came back with the crazy powers.
Which crazy powers?
The other.
Yeah, that was a Straczynski story.
That's when he had the crazy powers, and the powers that he had were, he had the crazy claw, he had the organic webs. He can spin a web, and if somebody touches the web, he can see where they are on the web like a spider,
which is kind of cool.
And he can the one that I thought was really cool that I really hope that they kept was that he could stick other things.
I hated
to
that.
him.
I was just thinking that. Like, I hope you don't go into that. I didn't like that. Stick people to his body.
Like if he's saving a baby, like a baby from I was gonna say burning baby.
Just attach it to his ribs.
Yeah, he can attach it to like his shoulder, and he can have like baby shoulder pads and run out of a building, and grab like a Coke on the way out.
Also we have to remember now he's one of the few people that does not have Spider Sense.
Right.
He's still lacking Spider Sense, so like his boy the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, the Shang-Chi. Damn, I'm doing great today.
We're mumbling today, man.
Shang-Chi, he taught him how to fight from scratch, so he can't see anything coming. So there's a little bit of like adapting to this whole situation.
Yeah. I think it was a very if you're a comic fan and you watch the show, it was a very, very light week this week. So I mean, as far as books go, I think that might be it for.
I got one more.
Go ahead.
I got one more.
Go.
It was my first read this week, aside from the DC stuff. Uncanny X-Force, tremendous book.
Didn't read it.
It was a great book. What I really want to say about it is the art is tremendous. We're coming off of a storyline where essentially Archangel has been transformed. He transformed into Angel, transformed back into Archangel, his death persona, and he's struggling with becoming the new Apocalypse. In this, they've just returned from the Age of Apocalypse to retrieve this thing called the Apocalypse Seed, which would basically cure Warren Worthington of being Archangel,
the Devil Angel.
Yeah, the Devil Angel,
Death Angel.
So they come back and they have this incredible fight. And what they've done with Archangels, everyone has that uniform black and white look to them on the X-Force team, but he looks awesome because they gave him like Apocalypse gear. So he's got the big A on his belt and he looks mean, and he's a great villain because he keeps this very steady, like, he's indifferent. You don't quite know if he's actually doing this out of malice or whatever, and it's great. And like Rick Remender is killing it because he really is making this a very strong Phantom X book. Yeah. But he writes the best Deadpool in the game.
He does. He really does.
He doesn't. He knows he's a wacky character. He knows he's a guy who talks a lot. But the coolest thing is just like he's almost sympathetic to a lot of the things. Like he's the first one to get upset when Phantom X blew the brains out of little boy that was going to transform into Apocalypse eventually.
Right.
And this just rocked. And you have Deathlock as their cyborg bodyguard. It's a book that's like I feel just should be getting more attention.
It should.
It's just a tremendous read. Wolverine getting blasted by, they call Holocaust, the son of what's his name, of Apocalypse.
They don't call him Holocaust.
They call him genocide now. And they make him into this bad dude. Like he just fries Wolverine in it. Which is always a great thing to see.
It fries Wolverine. Remender has always done a bang up job, especially when they give him a Marvel book and they let him run with it. Yeah. Because you're gonna get stuff that comes in way out of left field with this guy. Yeah,
I mean, like, who would have thought making Deathlock one of the main characters would benefit the book so greatly?
Yeah, I mean, the last Deathlock stuff I really enjoyed also was the that Wolverine story.
Yeah, with the time traveling.
Yeah, the time traveling Deathlocks, and then like the one guy became the Deathlock.
He's a cool character.
He really is, man. fan favorite. I like a lot of fan favorite Marvel characters. I don't really get like the Venom thing, but I'm always surprised at how many people are just like, who's Deathlock?
He's Eddie from Iron Maiden.
Yeah, that's with crazy face armor.
He looks so cool.
He does. Let's see what's next on the docket here.
You want to talk about Comic-Con?
Yeah, they're again, man. They're doing like these announcements, which are cool. You know, I personally don't really go do the line thing for celebrities, but I'll wait online for like writers and artists. But if there's like a 3-block line waiting to see like Carrie Fisher, that's not for me.
No, thank you.
You know, but they announced that Mark Hamill is going to be at Comic-Con this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, which is cool. You know, I mean, like they're going really big this year. You know
what? Star Wars is dead.
No.
To me, in my heart, it's really like I know. I just like I don't have the interest in that I used to. I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Did you hear all this Blu-ray stuff?
Yeah, I heard it and I saw it. Yeah.
So I watched. They have actually put up a lot of the clips from the new Blu-ray cut. So they
Empire.
added that. You know, you have this great moment when Darth Vader's throwing the Emperor into the pit. And he does it so quiet, and it's kind of like chilling the way he does it.
Right.
And now
That
they
makes
add
the scene.
Yeah, and then they took it away, and they add that stupid Vader into it.
Did Lucas explain why he did that?
He's basically like,
He just feels I think his original goal for all this shit was to just kind of keep some like graphical continuity. You know, like all right, so Yoda, we're gonna make him into a computer animated thing. We gotta make him computer animated in this part, but. There's some you really have to think of those first few movies as a separate entity. The Ewoks blinking looks kind of cool and everything. Obi-Wan doing the impression of the dragon when he first appears,
the crate dragon,
is so terrible.
Yeah,
it's like
he's about to break into like Surfing Bird.
Yeah, it's just weird. And there was another one too that was just like bizarre.
I watched the first two. I didn't watch the third one.
It's so disappointing. And there was a quote from him this week too that they said, like it said in 1988. I'm just paraphrasing that he said, if you altering an older film is really like the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah, that was like the thing that somebody unearthed this interview that was done with him like over 20 years ago. That when he just came out and was like keep films pristine and they shouldn't be touched. You know,
and
that's
I'm so sick of seeing those pictures of him too.
You know, like do you think if Orson Welles was alive, he'd go back and remake Citizen Kane and just give himself some crazy body armor or something in the beginning?
That'd be dope.
You know. Or something like that. It's a little weird, and like the thing when they always announce these Star Wars. Like Lucas is doing this, Lucas is doing that. You get all the groans. I love Star Wars. I also understand that this guy could be nuts at this point, and this is like his vision.
You think he's totally gone off?
I don't know if he's gone off the rocker. I think he's just like, I'm gonna add more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. He didn't really direct all the movies. He created all this awesome stuff, but like he didn't direct Empire. I think he like co-directed Jedi, right? Or something like that.
Both of the film, 2 and 3, he didn't direct. Which second one was the absolute best one.
And like when I read this stuff, like I always get that weird paranoid feeling where like they can't do this, man. Like is somebody pulling the wool over my eyes with this stuff? Where like I'm gonna get the Blu-ray because I'm gonna get the Blu-ray. I'm gonna get like the Star Wars Saga on Blu-ray. I'm gonna watch it. I feel like I'm gonna watch it, and then I'm like, oh, here it comes. I'm getting so mad because I'm a Star Wars nerd, and it doesn't happen. And you're just kind of like, why did I gripe about this for 3 months?
By the way, this is a man who gave us Howard the Duck. We must remember that he is behind Howard the Duck.
Not really.
He also gave us, THX 1138, and
he did good.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yeah,
made a cameo in that.
You know what? I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm getting sick.
Yeah, screw it.
I don't know why I went into this.
It's hard.
I'm just picturing that picture of him with the with that neck of his. That like gelatinous thing where like the beard. Like stops at like his bottom lip, and then it's just like all fat. Like let your beard grow out, brother.
The grandpa turkey neck.
It's so gross.
I mean, we could do a whole show about like Star Wars and all that stuff. Nobody really wants to hear it. It's all been said and done before. I don't know if you want to have a Star Wars dedicated show on your network, so probably not.
No.
But moving on, Walking Dead's coming back in October. Very interesting news that kind of dropped today. Was today or yesterday or this week?
Sucks.
Walking Dead, the show's canceled. Now, Walking Dead's coming back, and it's getting an hour-and-a-half season premiere on October 16th, I believe. But they're doing something kind of what they had to do a few years ago, like with the writer's strike, is they're splitting the season. So we're getting 6 episodes on, from October on, and then it's picking up in February, I believe. So they're gonna do that little break, and Frank Darabont left or was squeezed out or whatever. I think they're gonna do an awesome job with it.
I know it's gonna be. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. And I think that it's especially with a show like that. I think it gets better with every season.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And I think that the quality is gonna definitely pick up, and plus you get to see more of Rick's character evolving. So I know it's worth the wait. I just kind of want them to find their footing. Breaks never hurt. Help a show out.
Yeah, I know they're gonna do an awesome cliffhanger, and I'm cool with that. I'm a very level-headed TV watcher. I never get.
Oh, I'm not. I'm irrational as hell.
All right,
I watch Jersey Shore. I'm not rational when it comes to TV.
I love all this MTV show, the Real World stuff too, man.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I've given it up.
Are you done with it?
Yeah, I haven't watched Real World in a long time.
Oh,
I'm too disconnected. I don't where I can watch the Jersey Shore as with a critical eye, oh, this is ironic, these are ridiculous people, but Real World just it's such a disconnect with me. I'm too old for it.
Did you watch the VMAs?
I did.
Were you disconnected with that?
I'm completely disconnected like that. I said the night of watching that show is for me, because I'm so much older and I don't get it. I feel like I am. It's like being a father and your firstborn daughter. She lost her virginity to a homeless guy, and you have to deal with that.
Yeah,
you just feel weird about it. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
This is gonna haunt me for a little bit.
Yeah, it's gonna bother me. But I love Rick Ross, so that's always a pleasure.
He's the boss.
No, it was the first time in my life I felt out of touch. I was too old to watch this.
Mm-hmm. I felt this way for years.
I felt uncomfortable during the entire thing.
I felt so out of touch with all this.
Whatever. There's nothing to do with comic books. We can do another show about the VMAs if you want, Andrew.
Do you want to keep on we'll just keep on dovetailing?
We'll keep on dovetailing into everything. Just every after every segment, I'm gonna be like, Andrew, do you want a show about this?
Yeah, and
I want to be on your network 24/7.
For everything.
24 hours a day.
Everything.
Do the marathon.
It's gonna be oh, do you want a show about topless rich, sweating?
I do. I definitely do. I want this show in 20 minutes.
I think the chat just exploded. They were I don't want this. I don't want this at all. We're a comic book show. We've been around for 4 weeks. This is our 4th broadcast, and we have not broached the issue of
DC.
Our firsties.
Oh, our firsties.
Yeah,
oh, yes.
Man.
All right. So, Rich, we asked our guest last week what their very first comic book experience was, what got them really into it. I started mine very young. I read at a very early age because I'm a genius, and I'm very modest too. Mm-hmm. And my dad used to bring me out to my grandma's neighborhood in Baldwin, and they had the spinning rack and a little diner, and so I used to grab whatever. But my first was 2 books. Mm-hmm. It was an issue of The Thing regular series, which was after Secret Wars, where he was basically stuck on the planet, and he wasn't stuck there. He chose to stay there because he'd actually turned from Ben Grimm to a human being. And The Thing is such a street level character, not a street level character, but he's so down to earth. And this was literally not on Earth, and him dealing with weird Twilight Zone, Outer Limits type stories of him fighting giant monsters and anything. And I just loved the visual aspect of Thing and how he looked. He was wearing a black leotard. It was a different look for him. It was cool. It was just a really cool book. And then my other book at the same time was a what if Iron Man had been a traitor, and it basically wasn't when the Korean War, instead of him kind of escaping, he went to they find him just like they find him in the cave in the movie. Right. And they implant something in him where they can constantly record him. They make him into a Korean spy, and it's just really it just sticks in my mind. I never forget that storyline.
I used to love those what if books, man. When they do a what if story right, it's always so good. And that was their Marvel's answer to the Elseworlds kind of stuff, where an Elseworlds would drag out for a miniseries. Yeah, you'd have a nice self-contained what if issue where they'd give you the bullet points, and then they'd create this crazy cool story about exactly what it is, the what ifs of the Marvel. I used to what the too. I
loved what the. I think once I got into the flow of things, I started buying my own comics. like I get an allowance or whatever, I would what there would always be like on top of my list was because you had like usually a crazy Wolverine cover because I loved Wolverine time with like the Swiss Army knives and stuff coming out of his hands. He was like Wolverine.
Yeah.
And the art was great. It was just like so like out there and crazy.
It's like cartoony kind of stuff, like very like Sergio Aragonese.
Yeah, it was all parody stuff.
Yeah.
It was all satire on like crazy, Marvel stuff.
It was one of my favorite backups. Was the Peter Porker Spider-Ham.
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
I used to love that stuff.
Yeah, that was in back of all like the reprints for the Spider-Man classics.
Throw them on a team.
Spider-Ham.
Throw Spider-Man somewhere.
I like to see that.
Yeah,
put him on X-Force.
Throw him on X-Force.
What was your first?
My first comic was Batman 393. And I bought it at there was like a corner store by my house, and I was like, I forgot how old I was. I was a little kid, and it was like this awesome cover, which really like attracted me to it. Like I'm a kid, and I want to see cool stuff. And it's Batman. It's by Doug Munch and Paul Gulacy, and I'm looking at the picture right now. I don't have that phenomenal memory, so I needed a little help. It's a picture of Batman, and he's holding a torch, and he's holding a batarang in his other hand, and it's all these daggers are being thrown at him.
All of these daggers.
So when you're a kid, you're like, holy crap, he's in front of a cave, and like somebody wants to kill Batman, and I didn't understand it. Like I read it, and I was like, I really don't understand what's going on here. It's not like I was a dumb kid or anything, but I was just like, I can't do this. I was like 5 years old. It came out in 1986, and I remember a few years ago when Jonathan and I worked at the comic store together, I flipped out because I actually found the back issue of the next part of the story, and I read it to completion as an adult, and I'm like, this is phenomenal. I would never have been able to grab onto this when I was a kid,
That was a cool thing about I think when like one of the first comic books I was comic stores going to was Mike's Comic Hut.
Oh, no.
And like so you had like a lot of comics that were a little bit older and they were in the plastic bag and board. So, you only had so much money when you were a little kid. So you'd come there and like those covers, sometimes it would give you just that one image of something that you were interested in and curious about. Like why? Like what is this about? What's going on in this picture? Like I remember there was one where it was a Thing book, and I love the Thing, and it was like him against like a brick wall, and there's a shadow being cast on him, and he's like, you wouldn't believe who's in this issue, and it was a silhouette of Batman. And I was like, what does this mean? Like how come no one's ever talked about this? So I went to like,
what does it mean?
I finally bought it, and it was like some dude with horns. Which, all right, so that's just popped in my head also.
Right.
One of my absolute favorite comics that I read when I was a kid. My friend Paul and Jason, they had their own collection of like DC comics.
Right.
And there was a Batman and Superman issue. This is from the 80s, early 80s, and it was called Super Batman.
Okay.
And the story is that Superman finds Pan's flute, and he blows on Pan's flute, and he grows horns.
So he becomes like Pan.
No, he just grows horns.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, I'm Superman. I can't have horns. Like, you can have horns. You're Superman.
Yeah.
So to hide those horns, because they're on the top of his head, he wears a Batman cowl. He's like, Batman, can I borrow one of your shit? And he puts on the Batman cowl, and he becomes Super Batman. And I'm like, I could do this. Like, this is not the most brilliant storyline, but it's insane that someone, like a group of people sat around a corner and said, hey, let's put horns on him so we can put these two characters together.
Make it happen.
And if you see the cover of it, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What is this?
As a kid, I remember, I think we spoke about it off the air.
Yeah.
My father used to buy me a lot of comics, so I don't necessarily remember what my first comic was.
Right.
But I remember the first two comics I ever bought. Uncanny X-Men, 277, where Wolverine and Gambit are in the air with the yellow costume.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome cover.
Yeah.
And the best one was Amazing Spider-Man 347, where Venom is holding the skull.
Oh, I love that issue.
And I got the same feeling when I got that issue. I was like, holy crap!
Yeah,
this has to be the greatest thing ever. And I didn't know who Venom was at that time.
That's that balance between that you see when you see with comics is like, I appreciate a comic book cover that stands by its own, and like it could be, you know, just something of like a bunch of superheroes flying in the air. But I love those issues where you want to crack that book open. You're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And that's the essence of what you should be doing with comic books. It's a serialized format. The first cover should be able to draw you in. The last page should be the thing that draws you back.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And the thing with comic books now and like books now and media now is that you kind of lose that a little bit, you know. Like
I think so.
That's lost tremendously. It's like when we were kids, you know, and we're not.
We know like, Spider-Man's now really gonna die,
right? And
now we know that, but
you know, we're not that old. You know, we're like a little bit old. Like we're probably like the general age of most comic fans. You know, like in our early 30s, late 20s. You know, when we were kids, we'd say, hey, I like Spider-Man. Oh, man, this cover looks awesome. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to read the next issue. And you go hunting for it, you know? And you also kind of bought, like when I was a kid, I used to buy books that way too. You know, I'd be like, that's like Conan looks awesome on that. I'm going to read this, you know? Or
but let me ask you, Rich, when you would buy the comics, like let's say you bought this comic as a kid, and I'm trying to remember as a kid how I would perceive it.
Right.
Would you really believe that Spider-Man is dead? Like, would you look at it like, wow, he dies in this one?
No.
Because I remember in high school, yeah. I remember in elementary school, one of my friends told me about it. He's like, oh, yeah, it's the one where Spider-Man's dead. Venom kills Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, that's the coolest thing ever. I need to get it. And then I opened up. I'm like, man, this sucks. He's not dead. He just faked it.
Are you talking about the Kraven the Hunter thing?
Yeah.
I thought, I actually, when I was a kid, I actually felt like, I'm like, oh, snap. Like, he just got shot in the chest. Like, and he's buried. Like, this is pretty crazy. I
also remember discovering like people like Eric Larson, and like thinking like that was the first time I ever knew of like anybody. I'm like, wow, the Venom. First of all, his Venom was the best Venom ever.
Yeah,
Larson's Venom was the best. But I remember like as a kid, who would you say?
I'm not a big Venom fan, but so I really can't. I'm trying to pull like other people who've done it, but I really did dig him. You know what I liked him about him too? He was the first one to do the crazy tongue and the teeth and everything like that.
He did the goop too.
His body was awesome. Like the way he did his like anatomy was awesome.
But I always wonder like how do people perceive it now? Like when you get the comic, like how do you go based on the storyline, or do you say like, wow, that's an awesome cover, I'm gonna pick it up?
I think we can speak for both of us that we definitely do follow the writers.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's the spine of your storyline. That's what, you know, it's still a medium where you're reading. And that's like the artist is not the one building that universe. It's actually the writer, like creating this, you know, maybe working with the artist, but
to fill it in.
But like great art to me is great art. I want to see great art. I don't want to see shit.
You want the perfect combination of everything. You know, the thing I love about like old comics too is that, you know, they were the first ones of their kind. Obviously, so in the 60s you had all these crazy covers, or like the 50s you'd have all these crazy covers that would draw you in. You know, like every issue of Spider-Man, of Amazing Spider-Man, from its inception on was just like this shocker moment of like, can Spidey survive this? And it's a new format, so you're kind of like, can he survive this? You know, I'm not a time traveler. I don't know. When you grow up with these comics, again, you kind of want to find the backstories. You want to do all this other cool stuff with it. You want to be able to read continuous history of characters. You know, you want to go from point A to point B to point D to point C at some point.
F.
You know, the F to all the way to Z, and you want that nice little continuity where you can pick something up, read it, and say, hey, I want to know what led into this, you know? I think that's also a big problem. This is going to be why this is a big segment right now on today's show, which is this new DC stuff. We have not touched much on DC because it's really been a letdown lately, and I think I'm going to go into a bit of an extended negative zone for today. All right.
So I got it.
Get your fakakta computers over here, man.
Warning, you are entering the negative zone.
Awesome.
You're in it.
Well, we'll edit all that. Nobody will ever know.
That's all right, man.
No, just leave it in.
Can we just throw in John's voice and we're
go live
with that? You know,
we'll do it live.
We're good. So this week was the first issue of the New 52 and the last issue of Flashpoint. Both very disappointing for me. And as a precursor to this, I want to say that I am looking forward to all this new stuff. I'm buying all the New 52 stuff, you know. But I just kind of wish it didn't leave such a bad taste in my mouth. I read it a couple of times over. I'm like, oh, maybe I had a long day. Maybe I was being a little jaded, a little cynical. I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't like a lot of stuff about it. I think we both have the same thoughts on a lot of the stuff that we both don't like. And, you know, there's a couple of things that are kind of neat, but at the same time, there's so many holes in it, and I'm hoping the next stuff gets filled in.
I hope so. You know? I hope against hope that there will be. This is all kind of worth it. But here's my thing. You know, I've I read every issue of Flashpoint. I've been reading a lot of the stuff, that's been tying in. My argument is still the same. We're building a crisis that's not called Crisis, but in the worst possible way through an alternate reality. So Flash, he's running around. He's the only one who remembers that this is not the reality that they're supposed to be living in. A lot of things are different. They're not too different when you're like, oh my God, this is a tremendous idea. There's nothing that really like hits home and says like this is completely brilliant. It's Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns has done a tremendous job of revitalizing things between Green Lantern and even Flash himself, especially Flash. And this was just kind of just like so middle of the road. And, like you're also building up this villain of revitalizing Reverse Flash, and it's just kind of like, who cares?
It was a letdown, man. I was let down as a fan by that because I love Reverse Flash stuff, And this is like, it was such a cool concept where like this is gonna be like a crazy point in the Flash's history, and I love Flash stories. And I'm really cool as a fan bringing Barry Allen back. I love Wally. Wally West is probably my favorite Flash, but
he's gone.
He's gone. I love the Barry Allen Flash. Like when they started the new series, and he was working. He was back at his old job in the crime lab, and and he was like the forensics guy and everything, and that was really cool. The Flashpoint stuff was just like him like, oh no, my mom's dead and I screwed up the world.
So the big reveal in this was instead of you expecting Reverse Flash is the one that did all this, but then you'd find out that was actually way back when Jeff Johns relaunched Flash for #1 again. Right. He went back in time because Reverse Flash had already gone back in time, changed time, and killed Flash's mom. So in this one, we have Reverse Flash saying that Barry Allen Flash, the real Flash, was the one who did all this because he went back and saved his mom. So it's all his fault. Right. Now,
but he's retaining. So that's the thing that kind of like rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. Honestly, and also before I say anything else, like one of my favorite moments this week in This Week in Comics is when after everything is said and done, where Flash comes back and sees Bruce Wayne in the Batcave, and it's Bruce Wayne, and he's like, "Hey,
can't wait to say this, huh?
I have a letter." It's like it choked me up a little bit. Where he's like, "I have a letter from your dad from this alternate timeline," and Bruce Wayne believes him, and he's like, "Thanks, Dad. This is awesome."
I think that's the only thing that holds gravity in this whole story.
I really wish it was like that part of me just kind of made me wish it was like a more like Bat-centric story,
Well, it was. I mean, I think ultimately it was a Batman and Flash storyline. But what drives me nuts is, if it's a crisis, we're restarting again, and we've done that honestly not too long ago. So you're messing with continuity again. Now, what I'm really curious to hear about, and I'm sure it's going to come down the years as we read more interviews from other creators who are involved in this project. But there's one big thing where Flash is running through time, and you're about to create this new universe, and she says this mysterious new woman who's just appearing in every single one of the new 52 books in DC. So she says, the worlds have been split into 3 worlds. So you have the Wild Story universe, which is started by Jim Lee. Stormwatch, Authority,
Wildcats.
I couldn't wait for Wildcats to come back. And then the Vertigo universe, and then like a regular DC universe. Now, Brightest Day, which was the last big thing that they've done before that, Blackest Night, they made a big effort to bring back the Vertigo characters, mainly John Constantine and Swamp Thing. Last week we basically crapped all over Search for Swamp Thing. In terms of this, that's been a month since that happened, and now we're starting from scratch, and you're saying they're part of this world already. So there's a headache involved in all of this.
It's a poor blending of universes
and continuity.
Because
after this thing, he just like Rich said about how he returns. Barry Allen now has the consciousness of that all of this happened, and kind of lets Batman in on it as well. But isn't that more confusing? Because now this dude knows this reboot. This dude knows the reboot from the original Crisis.
Right.
So, and now because it's so kind of untidy and the kind of it's like, all right, it's started over. You have really confusing things. Like you brought up that brilliant thing that Brubaker said.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Which was the fact that Justice League, which relaunches all of this, we have. Kind of like a year one aspect where it wasn't the team of like Martian Manhunter, Aquaman who started together. This is all weird now, and this they're starting from this new mission where they're gonna be fighting Darkseid. But all of this stuff still happens, and there's only Justice League #1 is supposed to be 5 years before what we're going to be reading in the regular continuity. Like when we pick up Green Lantern, we pick up Batman,
Aquaman,
and all the other books. You know, the only ones that are really going to be in that past so far are going to be Justice League and Action Comics, to what I understand.
Right
now, in terms of all of that, we've had in 5 years 5 Batmans, five Robins.
Yeah, you've had
5 Robins.
Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake. Spoiler.
And now Damian. So in 5 years, we've had all this stuff. Batman started his career, and now he's had all this stuff happen. So
and Oracle and Batgirl getting shot, or maybe they erased that from continuity.
No, that's actually still in. They did show a scene from Batgirl #1, where that's still like is a part of it, and she's still recovering from all this. But also, you have things like, which drives me nuts now, and I'm not a continuity maniac. Like I understand a good story is a good story, and for whatever means, whatever means necessary. But how the hell does Dick Grayson go from being young Robin to now full grown Nightwing? Yeah. And his Nightwing #1 will be out in a couple weeks.
Right, exactly. It's not. I don't want to go so far as to say that it's a slap in the face of fans. I don't think it is at this point. It's too early to tell. Yeah. But for me, it's kind of one of those things where, like, when I was growing up, and I'd always read both companies. I always read the major, DC and Marvel. I was a lover of like everything, But I'd always meet people who were like, "Oh, I'm a DC guy. I never read Marvel. It's garbage. I'm a Marvel guy. I never read DC stuff because I can't get into it." If you're a new fan, like, I think this would be a breaking point for it. Like if you were like a really diehard DC fans, and DC fans could be some of the most anal diehard fans. I mean,
especially
like with
Marvel continuity,
too, but with continuity especially. Like if it's not wrapped up, I've seen people get into fistfights over this stuff. Which is ridiculous. But I can see why people are like, you know what? I think I'm going to stop reading DC for right now. But their goal is to get new readers. They want new readership, which is excellent. You want kids reading comics, and this is kind of what it is. This is like that insert that I was telling you that day. This is like that insert that they put in like the DC books, like the Subway ad. They did like the Subway ad where you have like, I think it's like Green Lantern and Batman, and they're like, we eat Subways because we're superheroes.
Yeah, it's just so subpar. And like, you know what? Like you had, instead of them having Flashpoint cross over into the other books, they had all these miniseries, these like little guys that
letdowns,
kind of give you breakdowns or anything. And like, I don't feel like there was any type of real need to like introduce the outsider,
right?
As quirky as the story was, like, I don't know, I don't give a crap. And like, Grifter and the Resistance and with Lois Lane, did I need this for whatever reason? Like they introduce a character in the outsider, which is the one that makes the least amount of sense in terms of importance and weight. They introduce a character called Blackout, which doesn't even turn to be Blackout. He turns out to be Martian Manhunter. Right. So who the hell is the first dude? Like, what significance does he have? It's
really weird. It's really strange. And you also have the fact that like, within the last 10 years of DC, you went from really, really amazing stories. Like I was a huge fan, Identity Crisis, and then Infinite Crisis, which I thought was phenomenal. And you have all those amazing scenes that like they just seem like they just crumble in your hands at this point. Because if you're trying to go back and read the old stuff is confusing to begin with. DC stuff has always been kind of confusing, where like they throw so many characters at you.
Like no one has gone back to the well, this many times and like blown up the well. Like they're constantly going back to scratch. And like, here's my one thing. This is, when they did this thing with Spider-Man, they did, One More Day, where they erased the marriage of Mary Jane. Right. I think it was a shit storyline, but the result of it now is that we get an awesome Spider-Man book. So I think it may be, I don't know, maybe it's in their eyes, it's going to be necessary. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of great storylines, but this is not one of them. I just don't feel it's up to the hype, or it shouldn't be selling 200,000 copies.
I mean, it's again, like another point is that it's like, we're beyond the stage of selling people action figures like the way the 80s were, where like you have the comic coming out and the toy line coming out. It just seems to me like this is exactly what it is. This is like the comic I get with my Batman action figure, where everybody has like this ridiculous armor. I don't like the armor. I understand Jim Lee is like, he's got a lot of clout in the industry, and he's a fantastic artist when he wants to be and all this stuff, but like,
drives me crazy.
You can can match panel by panel. And I'm not knocking the guy's art, but you can match panel to panel with stuff he's done before. It's not really mind blowing stuff. Jeff Johns too. Like I would love to sit down and really chat with the guy. If he didn't have a contract with DC, which would let him like just kind of spill everything out. Because everything has to come to a conclusion through like board meetings and stuff. You know? And I want to know who okayed like the wacky armor and like the Flash's like chin pad and you can't. I'm not saying don't change anything. I'm saying there's certain looks that I don't think should be changed. No, you know what? And like we were talking this before, the fact that these guys have never met before, yet they all went to the same tailor. Yeah, exactly. Like Wired is like I've never seen someone like decide to make a Batman costume and have it segmented like a robot. Right. It all looks like weird armor. And that collar thing, like the priest collar they're all rocking, is kind of weird also. But, at the same time, maybe it will lead into something kind of cool. I like one thing I also want to touch on is that I'm not a Cyborg fan. I've never really been a Cyborg fan. Me. And he's like an okay character, but like they're like for the past few months, they're really shoving Cyborg down your throat, and he's a character that's been around 20 plus years, since like the original Teen Titans, which was really cool. I always enjoyed his place on a team as kind of like a backup kind of guy. I don't think he should be brought up to like the main roster of like super gods. No way. I mean, like to put him, we're looking at the first issue of Justice League #1, which is the official start of all this. You've got Aquaman, you've got Wonder Woman, you have Superman, Green Lantern, Batman, Flash, and Cyborg. Right. And Cyborg is not even transformed into Cyborg yet, so it's not like you can say this dude is a cyborg who is a veteran cyborg. Yeah. At this point, and again, cyborg. if you're saying that this is a soft reboot and you're starting from scratch, then that means that he's not in the original Titans, and like it's just. When you think too hard about this, it becomes a real headache. Yeah, it's kind of like what happened to everything. I want you to explain every ending to every story I've read in the past 10 years. But again, it's the first issue, so you can't really judge it. But we're judging it. I have to. If you put this much on the table, and you are, it's a media event. It's you have midnight releases for this book. It's sold a god awful amount of comic books, and it's just like. I got Justice League #1 with like that's essentially a story I've kind of read before. Yep. Yeah. And a better version of it too. Someone brought up a very good idea, a good thing in one of like the message boards when the review came out for it, and said like the one good thing about this is that Jeff Johns is such a strong dude at building towards continuity and building with old continuity, and that it will be fun to see him basically play with a new toy box. Have without the constraints of continuity. But I think it's going to be a real battle to see where they actually kind of, work with all this. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I am excited as much as this episode made me cringe. That this issue made me cringe. Like, I really want to see what comes next. I'm not going to be the jilted guy who leaves everything. I'm with you. I'm reading all of them. I'm giving them all a shot. Yeah. I'm excited about Animal Man. I'm very excited about Animal Man and Swamp Thing. As much crap as I've been talking about Swamp Thing, I really am looking forward to it. Absolutely. We're going to end the show on a positive, very, very positive note today. Also, kind of like a bittersweet note, because... In more ways than one. The last issue of Greg Pak's phenomenal... I cannot stress this enough. If you are a Hulk fan and you have not read Hulk since you were a kid, please pick up the last 5.5 years of Greg Pak's Incredible Hulk. Listen, do your self favor. Go get yourself Planet Hulk. Yeah. Planet Hulk, World War Hulk, the regular continuity books are phenomenal. Issue 635 is the one that dropped this week. This is the last issue of Greg Pak's run. And you started with, and he has such a great Marvel bibliography with this character, and I always felt like this Hulk stuff is somewhat under the radar if you're picking up like main Marvel books. Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, well, you get the feature of Hulk being in like Fear itself as a main character, but it has been under the radar. And you know what? Like, I'm a huge Hulk fan. I always give Hulk a chance. Greg Pak really he nailed it. I loved Planet Hulk. I loved World War Hulk. But like, I don't want to be negative. I'm gonna be negative. I really wasn't. I wasn't a fan of the last 12 issues of this, and I definitely wasn't a fan of a storyline about the wishing well. You know what? I think it was like the last 6 pages were great. The last few with like kind of like the
the end result saying that kind of not revealing, but saying like how could you even think that Hulk and Bruce Banner are two different people?
Right. That was such a great reveal, where like they're in fact the same person. And it's not that he's been fooling everybody the whole time. It's kind of like, hey, you should have known better. Like I can transform into like
still
this
the dude.
super destructive mind. I'm the man.
Yeah, I'm still Hulk. Like I'm still like inside the same body.
I actually really enjoyed the Wishing Well storyline because it seems like it was a nice, like he knew he was leaving the run, and it was a nice, like lighthearted comic booky story. There's some, if you love comics, like, and you want
saying I don't leave. You're saying
no. I'm saying
I don't love comics.
I know you love comics, John. I'm saying like if you want to pick up a book and you want to see Fing Fang Foom suck down gamma missiles and then shoot them at the Hulk, which I think is fantastic. Then this like stuff like that constantly happen in this issue, and you have like all the stuff that he did with the Brotherhood, like the Warbound, like all the cool characters that he introduced or like reintroduced in the case of a couple of Warbound things. This guy has done such phenomenal stuff for Marvel. Like I remember Phoenix Endsong, like when he did that came out, and
and he'll do more. We'll see great stuff from him. But I when it comes down to it, he was really unmatched when it came to revitalizing the Hulk.
Absolutely.
And making him like a bad dude. And he kind of ran with an awesome personality for him, where there wasn't really he was green, but he wasn't like Gray Hulk. He was just kind of like this very unique personality where he realized like I can rule a planet.
Right.
And he was driven by revenge, and it was awesome.
And
the meat grinder. That says put the meat on the meat grinder.
That's a 2-minute warning, by the way. This is 2 minutes.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that gesture means. He literally did this.
They felt so short.
The one thing I really want to, like, the little last thing I want to say about the Hulk stuff is that one of the great things that I think Pak did with this run is that he established some really cool stuff that could be used in the future, like Hercs, like measuring the power of,
that's cool.
Like he's like
instead of kilowatts
against Hercules.
Instead of like kilowatts, we have like a magic or godly powers are measured by our Herc,
like the Hercules strength, essentially. So like he's got X number of Herc power. And the other thing is like they give him the level, like the different levels of the Hulk. When he gets super mad, he's a world breaker. And he's glowing green, and then he can just like take a step and destroy like an entire city. And I always thought that stuff was cool because you never really saw that stuff in the Hulk.
Yeah, what's really what makes me really sad about this is that my gut is telling me that because they're now going to be splitting Hulk into Hulk and Banner as two separate entities in Jason Aaron's new run of Hulk starting in a month. I'm really afraid that's going to happen in Dracula versus Hulk.
Yeah, he's Bruce Banner the vampire.
No, I just think that the result of it is going to be like Hulk getting split in half by Dracula, which is dumb. Yeah,
it's a little ridiculous, but yeah, Jason Aaron's taking over, and
Mark Silvestri.
Mark Silvestri, and they coming onto that book from this run. It's a nice little setup for them because they have so much stuff to play with. Greg Pak again. We're both fans. Thank you for the awesome 5.5-year run on this book. And
very much appreciated. We sold a lot of books in our store of that Planet Hulk hardcover, which is a gorgeous edition.
Absolutely. And as far as Hulk writers go, he is the strongest one there is. I want to get that out there.
He is. He is.
So, all right. This hour went super quick. We blabbed on probably a couple of more minutes than we should have. Pick up comics, man.
Buy some comics.
Buy some comics.
Do yourself a favor. Just go out and spend $4 on one comic. Just buy one. Just go out and buy anything. Try and give it a shot.
Anything you like. Don't go digital. Just go to the store, see something you like on the shelf, pick it up.
But you know what? Go digital if you want.
Yeah. So, anyway, this is Rich Stambolian.
This is Jonathan Adler.
This has been Behind the Counter. Thank you very much.